There it is.
We good?
Live.
Hey, baby. We
I'll
live. I
I can
sent you a
tag
friend
sub
request,
too.
Kinkaid.
What's up?
I sent you a friend request.
I see.
You don't have to. You don't have to add me, right? You don't have to add me if you don't want to.
I already did.
Oh,
Okay.
look at that.
I feel good about myself now.
Are you tagging everybody on the page, on the scoreboard page there? Or you want me to do that on the scoreboard page?
Well, I always
Are
tag
you
it on
doing
my page.
Okay. All right.
But
Okay.
you can do whoever you can tag whoever you want.
All right.
I'll tag Adcraft.
All right. Ooh,
I got some people
Iowa's
on.
leading. Yeah, we know.
Iowa, are they winning right now? Well, whatever. I don't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll have to talk about that.
Well, we do because I don't care. Angel Reese is the next Michael Jordan.
Can't wait for those comments.
Just get them going, man.
Yep. Fire them up. Might as well. Might as well.
You got a little music?
Yeah, it's on the podcast here.
Nice.
Everybody going.
I love that. That's some like club music from like 2006, 2007, man.
Coit's days.
Yeah, it is. That's definitely his days, man.
Yeah, I was about 22 or so in that year. Yeah. Yeah, I was up 7, 58, 51.
Oh, I think it's rigged. It's rigged. Unless she was up by like 8, dude. And then Angel Reese goes down, and imagine that.
Yep. All right. Should we get rolling, Stenda? We got 10 watching right now.
Yep. Yeah, you're good. Whenever you're ready to go.
You ready, Eric?
I'm ready.
All right. We are beyond the scoreboard podcast. This is episode number 10. We hit double digits on our pod here. We have special guest Eric Kinkaid. We'll get into an introduction from him here in a second, but we first like to thank sponsors, AdCraft, Athlete. We got gear and getting hooked up by them. Also, thank everyone that's been following and liking our page and watching our stuff. Keep liking, keep telling people to like and follow, and get as many followers as we can. Stendo, you got anything to add to any of that?
No, baby. We got a guest, and I think he's got to introduce himself.
Let's do it. Go ahead,
right.
Eric.
Well, everyone watching, I am Eric Kinkaid. I grew up in Comanche, Iowa, doing sports for the Comanche Indians, Comanche Storm now, I guess. I was a football player for Coit, wrestled as well, did golf, did track, I did a lot of sports, baseball for a little bit. Now I'm at Loras College Wrestling, currently a sophomore. I competed at nationals a couple weeks ago and got 4th in the Division III level for wrestling. And yeah, that's about it. Currently a mechanical engineering major. Yeah.
You going for that money, huh?
Going for the money.
Ooh, baby.
He likes to break a mental sweat too. He's a smart kid.
So what weight class you wrestle?
149 this year. Last year I was 141.
Dang, I ain't seen that since I was like in 5th grade.
I don't see it much outside of the 3 hours that I am at when the weigh-ins are. So I get pretty heavy outside of it.
And I know hopefully I'm not cutting into what Coit has questions for, but
you're good.
Like in the off season, like how heavy will you get?
So I weighed myself a few days ago and I was 171. And that was 2 weeks after nationals. So I've gained 22 pounds. And I have to get back down for a couple of freestyle tournaments. But last year I got up to 180 from 141. So that was 39 pounds.
Wow.
And then, it's just a progression back down at the start of preseason.
Is it tough to cut? Like if you come in at 171 to cut down to 140, whatever you're talking, is it how long does it take you to cut down to that weight where you need to be?
Ideally, it'll be a while, it'll be a slower descent. But if I really need to, like I'm 171 right now, I have to weigh 154 by April 26th, which it gives me a decent amount of time, but I can get down there for sure. Like it won't be too hard. I could get down there and, give me 8 days. I could be down there, to be honest, but
wow.
Just about controlling your body. I've been doing it for a lot of years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know these are some of these questions later too, but we'll get into it since we're talking about it. But when you're cutting weight, so obviously, like you're going through the summer, you're probably not really watching your weight much and kind of just doing your thing, right?
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
when do you start like cutting back and really watching what you're eating, watching what you're doing to get to that weight before wrestling season starts? Like what month do you start hitting that up?
So our preseason has an official date. I can look it up, but basically it's early October usually. And that preseason, it's it's basically season, but we're just like we have the same amount of practices. We're lifting too, but we kind of just have a little more independence outside of the room. And it lasts for about a month before official season starts for the NCAA. And I start my cut on the first day of preseason, and then by the time preseason is over, I'm relatively close to the weight that I need to be at. And then we have fat tests, which is
Right.
you know how that works, where they test how much fat we can safely lose on our body and the weight we can get down to. And that'll be like a week after preseason, and then we'll lose like the extra 7 pounds ish that we need or less.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and then I'm assuming I know when you were in high school, you were obviously really good at maintaining your weight and getting at the weight you wanted to be at. But I would think it's probably a little harder in college, maybe, just because you may have a little more
distractions,
maybe things that you may be eating and maybe drinking differently than what you did in high school. So how is it different from college to high school, you think?
Yeah. Honestly, it's easier in college, surprisingly enough. Last year doesn't really count in my eyes because the cut to 141 was really, really hard for me. And I hadn't really gone through something like that before. So I was kind of volatile on my weight. But this year, especially, I live in an on-campus house. I don't have a meal plan really. Like I could just go to the grocery store, get exactly what I needed, and have that every single day, all the time. And for wrestling season, like those distractions that most people have in college, it's non-existent. You eat, sleep, school, wrestle, nothing else. Lift weights. I am a very boring person when it comes to wrestling season. I have a set schedule and I follow it for 6 months out of the year. And yeah, that's how it goes.
Man, that's great.
And I'm a lot more mentally mature now than I was as a sophomore. I didn't get home and saw a candy bar on the counter and ate it. Now I know that that's going to be a regret, and I'm smart about it. I count my calories. I know how much protein, what nutrition I'm putting in my body at all times. I track everything, check my weight multiple times a day, stuff like that.
See, I always say that, I wrestled in 4th grade, and that was the only year I wrestled and played basketball the rest of my life. But wrestlers just have different mindsets than other, like the disciplined ones. You got to stay so disciplined in your nutrition and your making sure your weight's down, all that kind of stuff. So I just have a great respect for wrestlers, and especially at the college level, and that you're obviously mentally into it and disciplined. You got high school kids a lot of times that are they're 2 pounds over, and they don't know how to manage their weight. They don't know what to eat. They're like you said, they're eating that candy bar when they see it when they come home, and they're not disciplined enough to stay away from it. So I just have a lot of respect for what you guys are able to do and to keep that weight down.
It's a lot easier too, because I'm in an atmosphere where there's 30 other guys that are doing the exact same thing too.
Right.
We're in it together. Whereas in the high school room, like, it wasn't as structured, stuff like that. And another thing is that, like in high school, I'd start the week off like 5 over the weight that I needed to be at the end of the week. And, that'd be heavy for me. I'd have to lose that 5 pounds throughout the week. And, you'd be sucking your water weight the entire week. I didn't really know my body very well. And now like I start the week at 12, 13 over. And then by the end of the week, I'm at 7 over. And then I have one hard practice, lose all 7 pounds in an hour and a half. And then I'm down to weigh in, put it all right back in my body. I'm never down to weight for more than, a few hours.
Yeah. So, and at Loras, do they, I mean, I know you said you just kind of count your calories, but do they give you like the option to have like a nutritionist, or your coaches like give you a nutrition plan, or you just do your own thing?
We do have a good amount of independence, but the coaches like to know how we do things, how we structure our meals, and how we track. And they'll give us advice all the time on how they want us to do it. My coach, Jaron Glosser, went to Iowa. He is trying to get us set up with this new program that some Division I's are doing, where I think it's like a huge system where you track your workouts, you track your nutrition, you track your calories, like a whole like thing where you basically track everything you do throughout the day. And it's like you buy it as a team, you buy it as a program, and every single person that is on the team uses it. And he said he's going to try to get that for next year. I don't know where he's at on it, but
nice.
That could be a dramatic change for Loras.
Yes. Probably be a good one though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So basically it just comes down to, I mean, it's really just you. Like you just have to be mentally and like, I can't, like you're talking about the candy bar thing. Like that's gotta be for 99% of the general population. They come home after they're hungry. Like they see a candy bar. They're like, yeah, I'm eating it. Right.
I'm eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm 220 pounds and I'm like, dude, give me 4 of those Heath bars.
Yeah.
But you're like, no. And then like how many calories you're supposed to take in, what you're probably burning from your workouts and daily. Dude, that's tough. And to be at your age, to be able to do that, that says a lot about just I think the mental toughness, man, that's crazy, honestly.
Yeah. And there's also cheats to the system too, where like, I eat if I eat a Snickers bar, how many calories does it have in it? 350, like a big one. I could have like a whole bowl of fruit with 0-calorie Greek yogurt and some 0 sugar sweetener in it, and it's like, it's not near as good, obviously, but it still gives you that sugar craving. It's still like, and it fills you up. It's a big bowl, like, and it's for less calories than that little Snickers bar. It's finding those things that kind of balance out your cravings and cheats to the system, I call them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Dude.
Yeah.
You have to look back when you're our age and see if you can do that,
No, I probably won't. I'm using up all my willpower in these young years.
I was gonna say, you'd be crazy if you did that. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I think you are a little crazy right now, though, but in a good way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we'll get back into some more wrestling questions here in a little later, but we got to talk about the NFL rule changes. The hip drop tackle and the new kickoff rule. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm sure our listeners have heard of these new rule changes. But the hip drop tackle is being banned. I guess to explain it is, or how they ruled it is like, so if you're running even with the ball carrier or behind, and you, I think the actual term was unweighting yourself. If you unweight yourself and pull them back onto the ground, then that's technically the hip drop tackle. I think it's pretty silly rule, honestly. I don't really know how they're going to police it, I guess, or I mean, it's going to be all judgment calls by the officials, which how judgment calls go in the NFL right now. Officials aren't not going to be good. Yeah, because it's not gonna be long before someone does a hip drop tackle at the end of the game, 15-yard penalty, sets someone up in field goal range, and they win the game, that kind of thing. So, and then thinking of like a kid like Eric, who was an absolute stud on the football field as well, at the high school level. I was thinking when I knew he was coming on, how many times, Eric, do you think you actually hip drop tackled somebody? Hundreds, probably. Yeah. I mean, you could tackle anyway. Like you hit hard, but there's a lot of times, kind of like it's kind of like a wrestling move, honestly.
Yeah.
you know,
I
and
I
waiting
I
to bring
always
him down.
attacked low on the football field. I always
Yeah,
ankles
yeah,
and above to his waist. I never
yeah,
grabbed above that really.
yeah.
So
And then, I mean, I don't know, Stenda, what are your thoughts on the hip drop tackle?
I don't. I mean, so I made notes because
Okay.
I figured we're going through this, but I think the first thing you have to say, obviously, it takes away from the physicality of the game.
mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
we know it's a violent sport, unintentionally, taken away from the guys who make it to that level that play defense or special teams. Um, it to me, it just benefits the offense only, which shows where's the NFL been trying to go, guys, both of you, for the
They want
last 7, 8 years, offense
score as
only.
many points as possible.
Yeah.
They don't care. And I think there's a comment in here, put flags on them. That's where we're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I have some other stuff, but I think it's just pushing further to an offensive mindset. And at the end of the day, like, that's great for the offensive guys, but what do you do with the guys that go to college and get drafted as a linebacker, a defensive lineman, whatever it is? How does that benefit them? It doesn't. They literally play with a microscope on their helmet saying, hey, man, like I said, hip, I don't even like when you talk about that rule. What are you even talking about? Hip
Yeah.
drop tackle, like go to the Super Bowl when the Rams played against the Titans when Ken Dyson got pulled down. That would have been a
Yeah.
15-yard penalty.
Yep, it would have. Yep.
How many times do quarterbacks get pulled down by some defensive line? Like it
Yeah.
happens all the time. That's how they get tackled half the time. That's how they get sacked.
I agree. I mean, that's really out of all of it. Besides, I just think at some point it's kind of like the what is it, the Pro Bowl now? It's like it's flag football.
Mhm.
Maybe at some point it's just going to be they're going to have pads on it. If they wrap them up, they're just going to call them down. They don't even want them to tackle them. Like you can still pop them, but once you pop them, make contact, the play's dead because there's no benefit to a defensive guy. Coach Coy, you made the comment about a judgment call. That is giving the worst, freedom to probably the worst people in that game. Oh, now we can be like, yeah, we're going to call this or we're not.
Yeah.
You're giving leverage to the people who control the game. So I think it's ridiculous. I do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about like player safety, and making and keeping guys healthy. But at the same time, like every NFL player knows that at any given time, like their season could be over. You know what I mean? Or their careers could be over based on what they signed up to do. Like those dudes are freakishly fast. They're strong. Okay. They hit hard. Like they know that, I mean, what they're doing is there's a risk of injury, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
I don't know. I know they've done like studies on how many people got hurt, as Tony Stone says here, when that happened 2 years ago and they broke Pollard's ankle in the first half. Yeah, there's obviously been injuries from it, is one reason why they're going to it. But I just don't. And Ty Tyson put flags on them. I think honestly, like maybe 15, 20 years from now, it might. I don't know. We might be flag football in the NFL, and it's sad, but because it's basically would be ruining a great sport. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not going to be good, I think. And then I can't remember who it was. I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and it was a reporter. I can't think of who it was now, but when this first came out, he said that they're going to throw a bunch of flags in the preseason. And then he goes, by the end of September, you're not even going to know that hip drop tackles a rule because they're going to stop throwing the flags. He thinks he's like, they're going to set it up early, throw a lot of flags, and then not throw flags basically. So I don't know. We'll see. But what's the point of banning something and then not throwing a flag for it though?
Yeah.
So that's what I don't understand. But and the other thing, like these guys aren't like when you're playing a football game, your mindset, you're not out there trying to intentionally hurt the other team.
No.
Like none of these NFL guys are like going out there thinking they're going to intentionally hurt somebody.
Mhm.
I don't think. And then like Eric, when you played high school football, you weren't like, I'm intentionally going to hurt this guy, right? You're like,
No.
you're just going to make the tackle any way you can,
Mhm.
and if you you have them by the hip and you bring them back, then so be it. Like that's their mindset. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna break this guy's ankle on this unweighting myself on his hip here. Like that's not, you can't do that. It's just I don't know. It's wild to me, but again, yeah, I get you got to keep people safe and all that, but I don't think the hip drop tackle is dirty by any means. But I don't know.
The way I look at it is just football is a tough sport. Everybody knows when they step out on the gridiron that stuff is going to go down, and I don't think it should be put in PG just because every once in a while that is the tackle that gets people hurt. Like I think that's a huge part of football. Huge part of tackling, huge part of defense, and I think they're just taken away from the sport, just like they have in multiple other circumstances.
Absolutely, dude, 100%. Yeah, I mean, that whether you play high school football or professional, there's obviously the enhancement of injury, whether short term or long term, is there.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, like wasn't that how Bo Jackson? Like his hip got pulled out, when he was out. Wasn't that basically what happened? It was a hip drop tackle at the end. He pulled himself out and the guy was pulling him from behind. And that was 30 plus years ago. Yeah. And now you're saying, I just, like you said, how do you?
It's a risk playing football no matter what. And
yeah.
Well, yeah, you can get hurt doing anything, but I mean, but yeah. And the other thing with when you have someone by the waist or the hip or whatever, like you don't want them to keep going forward, No. You want to try to bring them back. So like, that's just a natural movement of it, like it happens, and yeah, it looks bad and it breaks. So every once in a while may tear an ACL or break someone's ankle or whatever. But I mean, so is what it is.
Forms of tackling.
And the other thing I think, and I know, again, they're saying because it's player safety, but isn't it going to create more guys going at like knees and like ankles even more? Because now they're worried about, if I get them on the hip and I'm going to unweight myself back, I'm just going to, why not just dive at the back of this guy's knee or dive, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I would think you run the risk of that a little bit too. Because it's going to be in those players' head, like when they have them wrapped like that, or when they're coming up either behind or side of somebody. I mean, they're like, oh, I might as well just go right at his knee or right at his ankle or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's still going to be, possibility of an injury there too, I think. But
it'll be Bob Sanders. Remember Bob Sanders for the Colts, for the Hawks? Yeah. That's how he played. I think was he free or strong safety?
Yeah, he came downhill hard. I think he's a strong safety. Yeah,
and he look at a lot of his tackles. He took them out. He wasn't a big guy. He took their legs out. Is that what they want? Like, so you rather them literally break their leg or their, like you said, come on, like that doesn't even make any sense. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand it, but I feel like we're all on the same page here.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think a lot of the NFL players are really struggling with it too, and a lot of the retired ones have spoke out and said a lot of things that it's pretty silly. But I think it was Kyle Long. He was joking, but he's like, yeah, he goes, we're gonna have so many flag football leagues. He goes, we'll probably have a women's flag football. We'll have a 30 and above flag football, 21 to he's just going on, and
yeah.
He was being sarcastic, but yeah, he's just wild. Anything else on the hip drop part? Tackle? Nothing.
We're gonna find out how it is.
Going to the it'll be interesting to see how they police it and how they make the calls and whatnot.
So before we move for both of you guys, Kinkaid, you go first. So this is what I had for a note was just another rule to cause controversy with the referees, players, and the coaches. That's all it is. Just implement something else to be like,
yeah,
let's we're talking about I stir the pot. You just stir in the pot more. That's all they're trying to do is like, yeah. So for the next 30 years, they can be like, well, that's Super Bowl. They didn't call that, but they called it all year in the regular season. That's all they're trying to do. You're giving control to people who most of the people, like even all three of us were like, man, the refs, they really blew the game for us. Right. And they're like, oh, we're all for it. Yeah. Until it happens to your it's not in your favor.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
I agree with that. I think giving power to the officials is going in the wrong direction in every situation. I don't know if you guys watched the Division One Nationals for championships for wrestling this year. It
okay.
happened pretty recently, but
Yeah.
the ref that was for those matches, he was throwing stall calls out like it was nobody's business. Like, it changed the course of the matches multiple times. David Carr wrestled Messenbrink in the finals, and he got 2-3 takedowns on Messenbrink, and yet at the same time was called for stalling 3 times and got 2 points against him, and it changed the whole course of the match. It was tied at the end of the match just because he got called for stalling, even though he was the guy who took Messenbrink down more than he was taken down. It's just like, I think the amount of power that officials have in all sorts of sports is too much. I think it should be less. I think all the power should be for the athlete.
You know, I've never heard that, but you know what? I kind of like it. Honestly.
yeah. I think NFL is probably the worst one, I would say, but because there are a lot of every game seems like there's some crazy call, controversial call, or something that hasn't been called at all in the regular season suddenly gets called in the playoffs, or vice versa, so it's just that it is. I agree. I mean, and this hip drop thing is going to be interesting to see how they call it, but we'll see how it goes.
It's a tool in the back pocket for them it's a bailout. Is what it is.
Yeah.
For guess what? The teams that they want to win
For the
are
script.
going to win.
Then we go on your topic of it being rigged.
I'm not going there. I'm just saying it's just it's an opportunity for them to say, we want this team to win. We can throw the flag here because now we have a new rule.
Yeah, agreed. Then also with the new NFL rule change, they got the new kickoff rule that they kind of adopted from the XFL. So this I think this will also be very interesting. I know you guys are probably familiar with it. So they're still kicking from the 35, but then if I got this right, I think if the kickoff team, other than the kicker, starts at the 40, and then the receiving teams at the 30, 35 is like their area. And then it has to be in the landing zone, which is from the 20 to the goal line, I believe. So, and then if it lands before the landing zone, then it's in it like they get it at the 40 or something, right? I think it's like an illegal
Maybe
seizure type penalty, if I read that right. So there's no squib kicks. You can't squib kick basically anymore.
Yeah.
You do that, they get the ball at the 40.
Well, they said something about you can do that, but you have to alert the referee, and the referee alerts the other team.
Okay. I thought that was just an onside.
Oh yes, I guess you're right. Sorry.
And then like a squib, you know how you like kind of kick it hard in the middle of the field, like a late clock situation or end of quarter or something, or into half. But it'll be interesting. I think this is going to add more returns to the kicking game, and then also the touchback rule. They get the ball at the 30 now instead of the 20 or 25, whatever it was in the NFL. So yeah, I think it's going to add some, obviously, more strategy in the kickoff game, because it was just basically, oh, here's another touchback, it just really wasn't many returns. So I think it's going to cause more returns. I think you also might see more, a kind of like bigger name guys back there returning, maybe. Maybe like your Jalen Waddles, maybe throwing a Tyreek Hill back there, or somebody has a bunch of speed and can do that. So it'll be interesting. Do you think there'll be more returns or less returns, or what do you think, Stenda?
Oh, Kinkaid, what do you think, man?
I think they're forcing the returns. I think everyone's going to have to. The way I look at this rule is that at least it's the referees don't have more power. Like I was saying, the officials aren't given more power. It's just everything's kind of turned down a notch. It's not quite as exciting, which I'm not for, but I'm not super against. So if we're all about safety, then that's good then.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're trying to eliminate the full speed, high impact collisions in a kick return,
which is definitely understandable, but it's just not as fun.
Right.
It's not. And then the flip side, like you said, you're probably going to see more returns, which is good because how boring does it get to watch them, kick the ball out of the end zone every time?
Yeah.
Where were they starting at the 25? It's like, whatever. Like, that's cool. I don't know. I like it just because I think, you guys both said the return game. I think that they need to bring that back because they're just pushing it more and more to every time take away from like position slowly is defensively. Obviously, we're seeing that in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And, this kickoff stuff the last several years, it's like you don't see the Devin Hesters. Well, why do people like to watch football? You watch it for the excitement, not like it got to a point where it was more of like just start the ball at the 25-yard line. Forget kicking off.
Right.
Like it kind of got to that point. It's like, what did they say? How many last year? Keyshawn Johnson said only 22% of the kickoffs were returned.
Yeah, something like that. I bet. Yeah,
that's boring. I mean, it's kind of boring. Like you watch it to be like, yeah, they might kick away from Devin Hester, but he can still return it, or whatever it is. But I think it brings it back. Like you said, safety is great, but I still think the safety thing, as much as people talk about that with the different eras, it's like, okay, well, this isn't like the ballerina. Like, this is a physical sport, so that's never going to change.
Yeah.
So just let it happen. If they don't want to play, then don't play.
And the other interesting part of the rule is the kickoff team and the receiving team can't move until the ball is either hits the ground or it's caught.
Yep.
So I watched a little bit of XFL and I didn't really pay attention to the kickoff part, even though this is pretty much what they did. But I would think so. How the teams are either gonna have to have some like call or something to win. How is the returning team, the blockers, gonna know when the ball is caught? Is what I'm kind of questioning. So, because they're not going to be facing the return guy, because then as soon as it's caught, the kickoff team's coming right at them.
Yeah.
They're only 10 yards apart, so it's not going to take long for them to get on them. So they're either going to have like, I don't know, like a call or something to know when it's caught or when it hits the ground, I guess. So, gonna be interesting just to see kind of the strategy of how it is, and then you might also see like some other guys out on special teams that aren't normally on there. Like maybe you're good blockers, or if you have a really good receiver or a really good blocking receiver type or tight end type that can do it. Because I'm thinking high school wise and our normal like kickoff, kick return stuff. I've done kick return so many different ways over the years, and on the last couple years has worked the best for us, but it's so hard to block in that because the kickoff team's freaking flying full speed at you, and then you're having to run back either to a spot or you have to find someone set up. Sometimes your back's turned to the guy, then you got to turn and find them. And then if you're set up, it's easy. If the guy's full speed, easy for him just to make one little cut and go by you, so there's a lot. It's hard, for especially high school and even NFL guys. And how many guys are going free, because they can't get to them. So this is gonna eliminate that, because they're gonna be like standing right in front of the guy they're blocking 10 yards away. I'm like, all right, let's go. Who's better? 1-on-1. Here we are, type thing. So you might see some guys on there that are like really good blockers and tight ends, or like George Kittle, maybe. Yeah, like guys like that. I mean, again, they probably won't, because they won't get guys hurt or whatever, but it could be a possibility. You never know. So
it's a good point.
I just think the strategy is going to be different, and it's going to be interesting to see how teams roll with it.
Well, it's definitely better than the hip drop tackle.
Yes.
Oh, whatever stupid rule. Like, come on, man.
Sure.
Ah, damn.
Well, I think too. Sorry, go ahead. I just think it's going to make people more interested in this particular play too.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're trying to do. But
they'll have to be better open field tacklers.
Yeah,
for sure. They'll definitely have to do that. I mean, I think more of like the pursuit angles and all that will have to be better. But I mean, I think it's probably, I don't know. It'd be cool to see that the ball return more than what it is. Cause like I said, it just got to the point where it's like, all right, somebody scores a touchdown, kicks 3. It's like, all right, just start at 25. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it is. Yeah. So,
Yeah. You got any other thoughts on it, Eric?
Nope.
All right. I want to catch up on some comments here because we had a lot rolling in there during that. Dave Murphy. Dave Murphy's a great guy. He said, "Is he call you LB or is that?"
Yeah.
Okay. What's
Stands
LB?
for Little Bruiser, but
Little Bruiser. Okay. LB.
there's all sorts of LB nicknames you can come up
Oh,
with.
I know. I was kind of thinking through my head, and I know how David Murphy is. So I was
Use
thinking,
your imagination. Yeah,
I think it's maybe something inappropriate, but maybe not.
that's
All
one
right.
of them
So
for sure.
he said, worked for me summer, and asked him one day, what do you weigh? He told me 169. I asked him how he's going to get to 149 by wrestling. He said, he looked at me a straight face and said, I know my body and it's not hard. Right. Yeah. Good. Tony Stone. That's Tony Jason, right? He said,
Yep.
broke Dak's ankle too. Andre Dirty Waters did. NFL is going to be super soft. Megan Hall agrees. NBA refs are the worst, he says. And his funny. He said they should get a point if they kick it through the uprights. I think it was the Bengals kicker. I think he said 4 points. He's like, wait, we should get 4 points if we kick it through the upright. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. But
That would be cool.
yeah, but I don't think who knows? They might do that. They want points, so who knows? They might install that too.
Take that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Eric, we're gonna get into some questions about you now. If you don't mind. So a couple of things real quick. So, most of the people listening probably right now knew that Eric Kinkaid is an absolute dog in high school, especially on the football field, on the wrestling mat. So I'm going to share some of Eric's accomplishments, accolades, because I think he's probably a little too humble to do this. And I already had some of these, but then Eric sent me a nice spreadsheet that his mom has made for him and has everything in line for Eric. But in high school, Eric was 140-17 as a high school wrestler.
I know that.
Is that right? 140 and
17. I never knew the record, so
yeah, I added it up. And then he was the only wrestler in the history of Comanche High School that placed at the wrestling state tournament all 4 years. He got a 4th place, a 7th place, a 3rd place, and a state championship. Football field also was a stud. Middle linebacker, running back for us. His junior year, he led the entire 2A in tackles. I think it 90 and a half, and was 3rd in the state in solo tackles. Senior year, 78 tackles, was 10th in the state. He's 3rd all time in Comanche school history for most tackles. So again, stud. And then another stat that I want to share for high school is he's one of only 2 Comanche football players that have been an all-stater for 2 years. So
really?
Yeah, Eric is just an absolute dog on the football field and the wrestling mat based on those stats. And the thing with Eric, and obviously right now he's wrestling at 149 pounds, right? And in high school, senior year was 138. You won state championship.
145.
145. Okay. But so would you weigh football? Probably 160-ish, 165 maybe?
Yeah, I got pretty light senior year football. It's probably 165.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously not like the biggest dude out there, but he was probably one of the toughest dudes I've ever coached. And just like every time he was around the ball, like I knew he's going to make the tackle. Like I don't remember him like missing like less than probably 5 tackles in his entire high school career, if I'm being honest. So, just a guy we'd put in the middle, and he had just great instincts, is always around the ball. And obviously you could tell when he led the entire state in 2A in tackles his junior year. So, yeah, I probably made a mistake looking back on Eric's career. I probably could have brought him up and played him a little more sophomore year, but I didn't. But
My dad always claims that was his. He was the one who decided that, and he's pretty proud of it, honestly, because he thinks
decided to keep you at the JV
yeah,
level.
he decided to keep me at the JV level sophomore year. He whispered in your ear about it, and he thinks it developed me into the person to be able to set that record. And I don't think he's wrong. I think he's right, and I don't exactly regret not playing sophomore year either.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't argue that either, but I mean, they're
definitely would have.
I mean, you were as a sophomore, you weren't. I mean, you're still a stud, but you were obviously not as big, not as strong, but you definitely would have held your own. I think looking back on it,
and I got in a couple times as when Buckley would come out, and it was fun.
Right.
You played middle linebacker at 160 pounds.
Yeah,
that's freaking. That's nuts.
And was a dog.
I could find the gaps.
90 and a half tackles, Stinda.
Wow. Well, I've seen the stats, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you talking about? This guy like 220 playing middle?
No. And the other, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go.
The other thing with Eric, like he like, like linemen are sometimes 230, 250 pounds coming at him, but he was so slippery too. Like guys couldn't get on him because he came downhill so well. He read the offensive line really well, and if there is a open window, open gap, he's closing it in a hurry. Man. It was just, and Eric will say this too. I think he wasn't the fastest guy we had, but I mean from inside the box, like tackle to tackle, he was the best guy we had. Just because he would just come downhill in a hurry, not afraid to mix it up with anybody, and just a freaking stud.
So you just shit rock people. Let's just say
that was the goal a lot of the time. Find the ball and bring him down.
Yeah.
So more of the IQ, because I feel like a lot of kids probably don't develop that soon enough, and you probably figured out how do I be successful, and you were just a student of the game. And on top of it, you're a really good football player. Combine that.
I think a lot of it was the physicality that I had, and I wasn't afraid to just come at anybody who had the ball, anybody who was trying to block me from somebody to get the ball. I think I definitely did my film. I definitely was a student of the game, but compared to Mikey Delzell, I never watched he was watching film 24/7. I didn't know the field like he did. But I knew the field well enough to know where I needed to go, know what gaps to hit, stuff like that, where I knew what to do and I knew how to have the physicality to get to the ball at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
he had all that. And Cinda, you said the student of the game part.
Yeah.
He also was the number one kid in his class academically. Yep. So when we give him a game plan or a scheme, he just got it, just picked it up instantly.
Yeah.
And knew okay, this week you're reading the guard. We had when we played West Liberty, Josiah Galvan, who's at Stanford right now playing football. Is just a stud. And we just basically were all right. And this guy was really fast, track speed fast. And I think it was your junior year we spied him, right? I'm pretty sure.
Twice. We did it for both games.
We did, yeah. So we had Eric just spy him in the middle, and they're an explosive offense, and we shut them out, that junior year, and then we beat them to go to the semifinals and the playoffs that year too. So he literally, we could do whatever we wanted with him, and we knew he was going to make those plays. So
yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it was good times.
Do you have Kinkaid, you got a play your senior year where you're I just lit that sucker up, dude?
There are a couple that I There was one play actually against West Liberty where I was actually on offense. I was running the ball, and Josiah, he was on the other side, obviously, and basically we mirrored each other on what we did, offense and defense. He mirrored me, I mirrored him. And he came down real hard on just a normal play, probably going through the B gap, something like that, right, Coy?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I just lowered my shoulder and hit him as hard as I could, and his helmet came flying off. He didn't know what planet he was on. He was gone. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I remember that play very vividly. I mean, that was just two dudes, just like a high impact collision. Like Eric said, his helmet flies off. Like Eric, I mean, I think Eric got the best of him. He's like dizzy walking around.
One of my favorite parts about it is I felt fine after, and he was sitting on the ground, dazed, didn't know what planet he was on. It pumped me up. I was ready for the rest of the game after that.
Yeah. That's all. How good did you? I mean, like you have to after that, like the momentum for you, anyways.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, ain't nobody going to be able to touch you the rest of this game.
Yeah, the adrenaline was flowing for sure, and you get hyped up, you hype your teammates up, the whole team feels better after something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And that game, I'm sure Eric remember the final score was 44-36. We won, and this Galvin kid we're talking about, he actually rushed for like 300 yards that game. But we won't have to bring that up. But
what was the score? Like they came back and scored 4 times in a row, 3 times in a row. Like we were up huge, and then they just all of a sudden started working their way back pretty fast.
Yeah, we had some good battles with West Liberty. But Eric was an absolute dude on the football field for sure. We definitely miss him on the field there. Before we get to more questions, it looks like Iowa women are going to beat LSU, and they're going to go on to the Final Four. Your girl Angel Reese just fouled out, Stinda.
Well, she's got a bad ankle, so that's my excuse for her.
So Iowa is going to live to see another day.
Kinkaid, so not to cut you off, Coy.
Yeah, no, okay, you can cut me off on that. It's fine.
If you're talking to a kid now that's coming in as a freshman or sophomore in high school football, going through what you've gone through, even though you're playing collegiate level, wrestling, what would you say to a kid coming in and this is kind of vague, but the advice you give to somebody like this is how you're going to be a successful athlete at the high school level, even if you don't necessarily have the best athleticism, the most speed, the most power, what would you say to them? Like, this is how you get to where you're going to be at that elite level.
There's probably 2 things for that. One is that, just the older guys, they're always going to be leaders. We're going to have every practice with them. They're going to do the things that we need to watch, to get to where we need to be. Like I was one of the freshmen, and then I was one of the older guys. It's how it goes. You grow up, you become one of those guys that you looked up to before, and you learn everything from them. So I would say just, soak up as much as you can from the older guys, the juniors, the seniors, the guys that run the team. And then other than that, probably just, Coit emphasizes film. We go in the film room every Monday, right, Coit? We would get in there and we talk things through. Just study the game too, know where those guys are going to be, know what formation is going to deliver what play, stuff like that. Just be prepared at all times. And other sports help other sports so much. Being just a football player and doing that year round is good. Like it benefit you a ton. But if you also, do a different sport, you do wrestling, you learn how to tackle somebody, you learn how to hit the gaps, and they help each other vice versa too. And the other sports do the same. So I'd say those are the 3 big things.
How much did wrestling contribute to football for you?
Well, Coit, you remember that tackle against Monticello? Remember that double A against the quarterback?
Yeah, I do.
That just goes to show. I mean, half the reason I was good at football is because of wrestling.
Yeah,
I'd give it a huge amount of that for sure.
I mean, I coached 7th grade basketball and coached high school basketball forever, but I would make the argument that wrestling and football probably benefit each other the most, as far as especially tackling wise, obviously mentally, physically as well. So yeah, I would say for sure. Those are great responses, Eric. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Mental toughness.
Yeah.
That's one thing wrestling teaches well for football, I think. You know.
Well, and mental toughness. I like that you bring that up because I think that is, especially with high school athletes, it is something that is. I don't. I mean, it's not. It's. I don't. It's hard to coach. I
It's
guess you
hard
could
to
say. Like,
enforce, yeah, for
it's
sure.
hard. I mean, you can tell. Like, I could be like, "Hey, Eric, you got to be mentally tough. You got to be more tougher than that mentally."
Mhm.
But what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do I be mentally tough? Like, I
You can
can
force
say it.
guys to do more sprints at the end of practice, but you can't force them to give it their 100% every time.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Good
I mean,
point.
it's the same thing. Like, I mean, I know we talk a lot. Like, hey, like things aren't always going to go our way. We
Mhm.
gotta like you stay together, like you flush it quick, that kind of thing. You can tell them things like that. That can help with mental toughness. But I think a lot of it is a lot of you kid either has it or they don't. I mean,
Mhm.
I think they can develop it, but a lot of times they either have that or they don't. And I mean, sometimes it comes from home too, and what parents are putting in their minds, how they
Having
brought
that support
them up.
system, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at you. I mean, your dad. I mean, he was an athlete in high school. He went to St. Ambrose, played football there for a little bit, right?
Mhm.
And
He's one of the two guys ahead of me for all-time tackles, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's behind you actually.
Really?
You're ahead of him for all time
Oh, there we
because
go. Nice.
number
Yeah,
one,
you better use that for everybody.
number one is Mike Campy. Number two is Steve Clements, and then
Okay.
you're number three.
Maybe it's season tackles that he's.
Yeah, I think it's season tackles. He got you by like one or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like your dad, for example, like he coached you a lot growing up, and
Mhm.
he's obviously, and you can speak on this. I don't want to speak for you, but he obviously probably played a big role on as far as you being mentally tough and what that did for you.
Yeah, 100%. Both my parents, my mom just as much as my dad, are huge reasons why I have the mentality that I do in sports. But just having them as a support system is one thing, and also just their how they talk to me, what they put in my head. They did everything right in my eyes, they did everything right to give me the mentality that I needed to perform. Just whether it's football or whether it's wrestling, just going out on the mat, going out in the field, and just getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
for
probably
sure. Yeah.
That's a big component, I would think, for a lot of kids now.
Yeah.
If they're being told at home, like, if you're not very good and your parents are like, you're great,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, yeah, well, I'm great. You're not going to listen to the guy who's saying that you're not very good and you need to get better. Sounds
Or
like
just
you
the
had
other way
parents.
around, and you're doing good, and they're not giving you enough, credit where credit is due. Come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Come on,
And I
man.
know, yeah, your dad obviously was a big part of that and still is. And
I told you this would happen, Coit.
yeah, you called it. Your roommate's coming in. What's up, man?
This is Kale Lucero. He's my roommate, and he's
All right.
also a wrestler on the Loras wrestling team.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think,
haven't seen him for a few days for Easter break, so
all right, nice.
yeah.
Oh,
Welcome
you
back, man.
Oh,
This
sorry,
is
guys. I
Oh,
could
yeah.
speak to his
That's
great
awesome.
roommate. Very organized.
Are you eating? You guys got some peeps to eat or what?
We got some peeps. What's a peep? Oh, for Easter, duh.
Yeah,
Come
Easter,
on, man.
All right. All right. Eric's the man.
Gus
He
a little
is. I
nervous,
agree.
it looks like.
Eric's fast.
They ain't got no peeps. You know that.
Yeah,
No, I guess not.
that's
But,
fun.
yeah, that was 2 out of the 3 roommates. I don't know where Cam's at.
That's awesome.
Like it.
I love
That's
that,
awesome.
man.
Sorry,
You called it though. You
cut
said it. You said
Yeah.
right before when we got on live. You're like, I think my roommates will probably end up walking in the middle of this. I'm like, that's all good. Let them come in.
Hey, man. Hey,
They can
do
sit
what
on
you
the
gotta
couch
do.
and listen if they want. They don't have to
Yeah.
leave.
They got out of there pretty quick. I think.
Yeah,
They didn't
they
want
seem
no
like
part
they were a
of it.
little nervous there.
Yeah,
Jeez.
definitely.
Tell them they're gonna be famous now.
I'll tell them this is million view podcast.
Yeah, I wish, but we might
Yeah,
get to 1,000.
sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. I think we were on the mental toughness and how your parents instilled it in you and
Yeah.
all that. And yeah, and obviously, like I said, I mean, I've coached with your dad. He's coached with us, and still is a part of it with
Mhm.
us now, um, and just seeing how he like coaches people and what he does is definitely has instilled that in you, and that's
Yeah.
great. Um,
Yeah.
so um, back to wrestling a little bit here. So what age did you start wrestling, and when did you know like this is this is my sport, like I'm really good at it, I want to keep doing this, kind of like explain that kind of journey that you had there.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been wrestling for as long as I can remember. There's probably some picture of me 3 years old in the singlet. And as far as the defining moment that I knew that was like the sport for me, I'd say it was my 8th grade year. Um, it was when I actually broke my wrist, and it was what 4 or 5 weeks that I was out for. I had a cast on, um, and I went to practices still. I watched competition still. Just kind of stayed in the atmosphere of the guys that were still competing. And for some reason during that time, I don't know what changed. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did right, but I made a huge jump from the second I got hurt from the first step I took on the mat after I got hurt. I was a different wrestler. I took just a huge jump and ended up getting second in AAU state that year. And that was the first time I really like got a full extent of how good I could be. I like got a taste of it, you could say. And from then on, I kind of just knew that was how I was going to roll for a while. That was when I sunk my teeth into it, you could say. And then since then, got on the mat at state my freshman year. That was a pretty big thing for me. My goal going into that season was just to be a state qualifier. I didn't even like Coach Carsonson would have us write down our goals at the beginning of the year. Our season long goals, our career goals, a bunch of other stuff, and we'd be looking at it throughout the year. And my goal for that season was just to qualify. And then all of a sudden I did it, and I had a week till state, and I was like, all right, now it's time to actually go out and wrestle and see how good I can do now that I'm there. And got fourth. Did pretty dang good for what I was supposed to do and my age. And that was just another reason where, as an example of I got another taste of it. I want some more. I got in the room in the off season, did more work than I ever had before. And it's kind of been a progression like that ever since. Sophomore year, we had a setback. We got seventh. I don't think I did enough in season for that. I
That's
just
still
didn't.
pretty good though.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
just
still
didn't.
pretty good though. As a
Yeah.
sophomore.
Yeah. Definitely. But not satisfied, obviously. Right.
Right.
Went in junior year, almost demanding in my head that I needed to get a state championship. I knew I had the skill set for it. I wanted to get it. I put in all the work needed for it, but came up short again. And then obviously last chance senior year, finally got it done, and a pretty cool story, I think. And yeah, and then now we're in the college, whole nother level now. Whole it's crazy. I thought I put in the maximum effort I could in high school, and then I got to college, and it's a whole different ball game. It's crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, I had in the notes to talk about the story of senior year, and we'll fill Stenda in. So Eric's senior year, we're in the second round of the playoffs up in Waukon, Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe it was early second quarter, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm. Still tie game 0-0.
Still, yeah, we're Waukon. I mean, traditional, really good team. We kind of came in there, and nobody except for us really thought we had a chance to beat them. And they run GT counter like constantly. Our game plan, Coach Graham's game plan against that was awesome. We were shutting down their best play. They had a running back that was like 2,500 yards rushing, and we're shutting them down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we drop a touchdown pass in the end zone that we early in the first quarter, first drive. Yeah, but we stop them. I mean, we're stopping this team, stopping them, and we're 0-0 second quarter, feeling good. And then Eric runs the ball and goes down. And Eric is the guy that, if he was down for longer than like 3 seconds, you're like, he's gonna get up,
Mm-hmm.
and then he didn't really get up, and I'm like, ah, shit, because if he's not getting up, that's bad. So he tries to get up, and obviously he can't put pressure on his leg. I thought it initially was like ankle. They have a trainer over there. They're looking at him, and trainer was right on. That guy wasn't he, Eric?
He was great.
He
Yeah.
was awesome, and he broke his leg, basically. Broke his tibia.
Fibula.
Fibia. My bad. Yep.
He did.
But anyway, broke his leg. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
So, he obviously is out for the rest of the game, and that kind of just, I mean, it was a senior year. He's one of our leaders and one of our studs, and kind of took the sales out of us a little bit. And the sad part was, he broke his leg, and initially, our season's over for football, and my mind initially is like, oh shit, wrestling. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he was going to win a state championship, his senior year. He knew it was going to happen. And then that happened. And you're kind of like, oh man. And I remember going to his house that next day and, showing him the trophy we got, and just it wasn't a great feeling, and I mean, Eric was pretty positive, had a good mindset on all of it, even though he just broke his leg. And I remember talking to his parents, and they're like, well, it might be like 12 months, like it was just slow. It was like long, it's going to be if he's not going to be able to wrestle. And then they started doing stuff, finding out that it wasn't going to be as long. But I mean, long story short, I mean, it's still a long story, but he ends up coming back for wrestling. And I'll never forget. It was when did you wrestle Sanders the first time in Maquoketa? Was that regionals, district? Which one was that?
That was districts.
Yeah. So it goes districts, then.
Yeah. So my first competition back was conference.
And then it goes
next
district.
Week sectionals,
then districts, then state.
Then districts.
Yeah.
And then state.
So districts right before state. So he's wrestling this guy. He's a transfer from Utah, right?
Yeah.
And he was undefeated state champion there. I think he was undefeated when you wrestled him as well.
Yeah. Let me lay the groundwork a little bit.
Yeah, you lay it. You know it better than I do.
All right. So yeah, my obviously go down, broke my leg, and then that entire season that I was recovering, they still, like, rankings don't mean anything, but they still gave me the respect of putting me, number one in the rankings, and that's good stuff, And then halfway through the season, all of a sudden, you get these two transfers from Utah, both state champs, undefeated, stuff like that. And then they get thrown at the top of the rankings because they're beating the top guys. And I get bumped down to 2, and then that irritates me even more. I even have more fire under my ass, and conference comes around, sectionals comes around, districts come around. And do you know how the district system works? There's 8 districts. The top 2 go to state for wrestling. At least that time they did. Now it's top 3. But we had, coincidentally enough, the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3 ranked guys in the state in our district. So that means one of the top 3 guys in the state were going to get left at home.
Right.
And,
right.
It was between us 3 on who was going to get there. And Coit, you can take it from there. You were there.
No,
that was
yeah.
the groundwork.
So then you end up. So the other kid was the kid from Assumption, right?
Yes.
Was it Messias or
Macias? Yeah.
Macias. See, I was close. I remember this stuff. All right. So, so he's wrestling the Sanders kid, this transfer from Utah, in the that was the championship of the district, right?
Correct.
And so this kid, everyone's talking about how good he is, and Eric's coming back from the broken leg. And I was at that meet, and I was also at the state wrestling meet when he won the championship, and that was really freaking cool. But I think that match in the districts against this Sanders kid was probably the coolest wrestling match I've ever seen in my life. Like, Eric got on that mat, and like, just looking at him, I'm like, he's gonna kill this kid. Like, you could just tell, like, he had that look, and he sticks this kid in the first period, and like, just like the whole crowd was behind Eric. Like, the DeWitt coaches were cheering for him, like Maquoketa coaches, because they knew the story of him breaking his leg, coming back to where he was. And he won that match and like pinned him, and like, I was going crazy. Like, everyone's going crazy. It was just one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed. And just the emotions, after coming back from a broken leg that quickly to get to that spot. And then he ends up wrestling that kid for the state championship. Same kid, and beat him 5-2, right?
Yep.
5-2 in the
You got
championship.
it down, quick.
Yeah, I don't have any of this down in the
baby.
notes either, by the way. I know this all from my head, my memory. But yeah, being at that was really cool too, and just a great atmosphere. And that's just kind of, again, we talked about mental toughness. That's that's mental toughness if I've ever seen it. Like, kid breaks his leg, does everything he has to get back to a state championship level wrestler.
Yeah.
And it is just unreal story. And yeah, it was really cool to be a part of and see and follow it. I guess I wasn't really a part of it. I followed it and was there for
I'd say
it.
you're
But
a part of it. I'd say.
yeah, I mean, it was cool though. And I'm glad I got to see all of it and be there for it and do all that. But
Sounds like you
it
took
was
it kind
cool.
of personal, kind of like Michael Jordan would.
who,
No.
me? I took it
No,
personal.
no,
Eric?
Kinkaid.
Eric?
Yeah, you
Oh,
know,
hell
like,
yeah, he did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, again, wrestling. I love watching it. Never played it. Guy, I was really good friends with Ben Booth. He was a state champion at the heavyweight, and he was. Sounds a lot like you. Like, he was just a powerhouse. But
Mhm.
wrestling, to me, at the end of the day, never ever doing it is, to me, is like the hardest sport of all time. I mean, just to me, I'm
Yeah.
like, cutting
Yeah.
the weight, the mental side of it. I don't think it's only for the few far and in between. So, hearing that, it's like you talk, like he's Coach Coit saying, breaking a leg, and then you come back and you're like, yeah, I went the year before your third state, and then you're like, break my leg and I'm going to win a state title. Yeah, no big deal. I mean, that's just not like handed to you.
Yeah.
No,
Like, there's no way.
and
It was a long journey for sure.
you went undefeated your senior year too, right?
Correct.
I mean,
The
I think
record,
you only had like 15 or 16 matches, right? But
yeah,
you
15
didn't lose a
matches.
single one.
14 matches, but my record was 14-1 because the first tournament I came back, I forfeited the finals because my leg was still hurt and I wasn't completely back
Gotcha.
yet. So, unfortunately, the record doesn't reflect the
Oh,
undefeated.
so
but-
your mom's thing she sent was wrong.
Oh, she put undefeated
She
on
put
that.
16-0 on that. I'm pretty sure. I know she's listening. She's gonna comment on that. I think. All right.
Hey, you better not. Don't tell her
hey,
that she's
it
wrong.
looked
Don't tell
good.
her she's wrong, bro.
So instead of what was it? Instead of 140 and 17, you might be 139 and 18 then.
Ooh.
She probably just left it off.
Yeah,
Probably
I'm just
140 and 18.
I'm just giving her a hard time. It's all good. But yeah, and then obviously, as we talked, Eric is now he got 4th place in nationals this year as a college wrestler, and still doing big things, and he's going to continue to do big things, I'm sure, on the wrestling mat.
Got 2 years left.
In the 2 years he's got left, for sure. So yeah, it's just awesome story. Awesome. That just give that, like, I'm just thinking of that match in the districts. I guess Sanders still gives me chills to this day. And that was what, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, however long ago. Wild stuff. Your mom did comment. Your mom commented. She said, I used his track wrestling record of 16-0. There you go.
No way. I don't believe it.
That's what her comment said.
Here'd be a question for both.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, kind of both of you, but more Kinkaid, but both of you at the same time. How many wrestling athletes make it to state 4 years in a row? I mean, just in general, that's going to be tough to make it there. It's to make
tough.
it there.
And it's different now. The rules are a little different now. It's a little easier, but it's definitely still a real tough task to do. I think there's 2 or 3 other guys in Comanche's history that have qualified all 4 years. I know I was the first one to place all 4, but I don't think there's many that have qualified all 4.
God, that's freaking nuts.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's yeah.
The real wild thing, and there was I remember when I went and watched Eric at state. I think there was, I don't know, I could be I think there's 3, maybe 4 in all the weight classes and weight that had won 4 state championships.
Yeah. That was a year that we had a good amount. And
yeah, I want to say there was like 4, maybe 5. I don't know, but there was. I was shocked at how many. I'm like, this is insane. Like,
yeah, and actually, at least one of them, I can't remember how many, didn't get the 4th one. They lost.
Yeah.
They won
Yeah,
the
there were a
state
couple.
title of freshman, sophomore, junior year, and lost their senior year. So,
Yeah.
and that happened last year. That or this year, this past year, it happened. We had two of them that were going to go for their fourth, and they both lost. So it's kind of a thing that's happening now.
Man.
Yeah.
The last ever
And-
high school career match, and they're going to lose it and not
That's
get the
tough.
four time. It's crazy.
And it's really cool what they do when they win. If they win their fourth one, the whole crowd gives them a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really cool. Like, it's just
Yeah.
that whole state wrestling thing was a really cool experience, and
Mhm.
they packed the well, and
The wrestling community is, it's a good community. We all respect each other.
Yeah.
Like, you give respect when respect is due, especially if your fourth state title just happened.
no doubt.
We might be enemies on the mat. Sometimes we wrestle each other, but we're all still a community.
Yeah. I'm sure after you're done, you're probably like, it's just all love. Like, it's nothing personal. Like, maybe at the time when you're wrestling them,
Yeah.
but when it's done over, they're like, hey, man, like, you probably wanted the best battle
Mhm.
you could have on the mat, right?
Yeah. Most of the time, it's all fun and games after. Everyone's cool with everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Stinda, it's like our podcast slogan. Just sports, no hard feelings,
Yeah.
right?
You're right. Leave it that way. It's like, man,
Yeah.
let's leave it there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The wrestling thing is to see. I mean, for the only guy when I was at Clinton, Dan Knight
Mhm.
was, and I think he was a 4-time state champ.
Yeah. Never lost.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
He
dude,
never
that
lost.
guy, he was my PE teacher. He always tried to get me to go out. I played hoops, and he would come in, and he'd be like, "You're out for the wrong sport." And that guy was 130 pounds, and I was 200 pounds, and he would throw me around like a rag doll in the gym because I talk shit to him.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "No, dude," and like he'd be like, "Come on," and he'd throw me around. I'm like, "Dude, like you're 130 pounds." I couldn't imagine what he would do to a guy that was 200 pounds. But just like the things he would talk about, like what you guys do, I'm like, I'm sure that's probably a way different era than when you were wrestling. But again, like the cutting weight and how dedicated you have to be mentally,
Mhm.
I just think it's way different than a basketball, football, or track athlete. I don't think it's comparable, honestly.
It's definitely a way different feel. I can agree with you on that one. And Dan Knight, his son, actually just competed in the state finals.
Yeah.
I saw that on Facebook there. That I still got him on Facebook. Yeah, I saw that his boy has he won a state title?
Yeah, so he won his freshman year, and he just lost his past year actually for a sophomore. But
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be back on top pretty soon.
Yeah, man. So that's nuts.
That's amazing that you don't lose a single match in 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Damn, that's
Not
wild.
many people have done it.
No.
That dude was nuts. I'm telling you, dude, he would come in and be like, "You're out for the wrong sport." And I'd be like, "Dude," I'd be like, "Shut up." And I remember junior year, he hip topped my ass in the gym, like on the thing. And I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm gonna street fight you." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not gonna be able to street fight him. He's gonna still whoop my ass." Like
The thing that I've always like with wrestlers, like the really good ones, or like like someone was a really good wrestler, like they're my age or older now. Like when you shake their hand and like just their grip strength, you're like, oh cow! Like I think like, even like your dad, Eric, like he when every time I shake his hand, like. Yeah, everyone's gonna think I'm weird saying this, but I'm just like it's just like God, he's got such a good grip, like he's just I don't have that. I don't know, I wasn't a wrestler, I guess, but
huge thing in wrestling, grip is
no,
huge.
it is. It's obviously important for that sport, but it's just I mean, every wrestler's got a good handshake for sure.
Yeah,
cauliflower ear too, stuff like that.
Yeah, cauliflower ear. You wrestlers love cauliflower ear. That looks so weird. You're like, oh, look at my cauliflower ear.
It's our tell. It's our sign.
Yeah, I know.
What do you have to do? Like put like a needle in there and drain it?
Yeah. So I got it this year, and I had to get my ear drained 7 times. All the blood drained out of it, and now there's a little bit in there, but you can't really tell.
Damn, does it hurt?
Not right now. So when what happens is, you burst a blood vessel in your ear and it fills up with blood, and then eventually that blood turns into cartilage, And once it turns to cartilage, it gets hard and you can't feel it at all. It's just like every other part of your ear. But when it's filled with the blood, it gets pretty painful. It hurts to the touch.
Is that from like I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it's like from not wearing headgear, or is it from wearing headgear and just getting hit there? Or does
The headgear prevents the cauliflower. That's why it's
that's
mandated by NCAA. But
you still get it even with the headgear?
yeah, because nobody wears headgear in practice.
That's what I was gonna say. You don't wear it in practice.
Everyone hates it, so nobody uses it. They still get the cauliflower ear.
So then, does it hurt when you have it and you have to wear your headgear?
Yeah,
okay.
it does. It hurts if you have it. It's going to hurt the entire extent of you having it, and it lasted probably a month and a half for me. But
why not just wear the headgear in practice?
Some people want it. Some I don't know.
You guys are too tough.
Have you ever put on a pair of headgear before?
Yeah, I wrestled in 4th grade.
Oh yeah, well that doesn't count. They're annoying to wear sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think I put on headgear since 4th grade. I don't like reliving my wrestling days, so I don't do that. And I know my dad wasn't real thrilled with me because I was so bad. So my uncle was a really good wrestler, so we thought maybe I would be, but that didn't happen. So man, yeah. All right. Stenda, what do you think? Should we go just into tier talk or should we go Shohei, or what do you think? We're an hour and 16.
Probably tier talk. Do you want to catch up on the
what's up?
Catch up on the comments and then do the tier talk?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Let's do that. So let's see. Oh, Megan Hall said, haha, bad ankle about your girl Angel Reese. Then Tony Clark tied tournament record with 9 3-pointers. Solid. And then Ben Irwin said, who was the toughest wrestling match? Zach Irwin, Mike Delzell, or Tucker Dickerver?
Definitely Zach Irwin. He knows his son was the hardest one out of those 3.
Wow.
Did you stick him though?
Oh, of course.
Oh,
those 3 would wrestle each other in the basement, and it would be pretty tight between them. But then when they wrestled me, didn't last very long.
Well, didn't during COVID, didn't your dad put a wrestling mat on your back patio? Yeah, I remember that.
That's how we
probably had some pretty good matches there too.
Yep, we definitely did. Then we'd get done with the wrestling. We just go jump in the river after, stuff like that.
Nice. That's pretty.
We made fun out of it.
Would you ever? Hey, do you ever have it like when you're in high school, like even now, like college, some dudes talking smack to you, like, yeah, I could take you, man. You're not that good. And you're like, all right, dude, I'm about to. All right, dude. Okay, like kind of like the basement. Like I'm gonna stick you, and you're gonna shut your mouth, and we're gonna be done.
Yeah, all the time. It's been a constant for about as long as I can remember. Even old dudes, like they'll just be chirping at me, and I'll be like, all right, man, if you really want to try, we can go right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, people are probably like, oh, this kid weighs 149 pounds. I can take him. And then they get in a freaking tussle with them. And they're like, oh, no, here we go. I wouldn't mess with them, but.
Bro, the only way I'll mess with him is I'll bust out a taser or something. Like, hey, we're like, hey, okay, man.
You want to keep him down long, though. He'd get right back up from that.
Now, I'll make sure I lock into him, and then I'll get on top of him. He ain't getting up. He'll make sure.
Giving him
you better keep tasing me the whole time. If you let go, I don't know.
Yeah, I know that'd be the scare. I make sure I have a couple guys there.
Yeah, he's coming at you for sure. For sure. All right, we'll get into tier talk here. So our tier talk this week is our favorite or best NFL uniforms, combinations, whatever you want to call it, jerseys. Yeah. So tier talk, Eric, I know you said you watched one of them and how it works. So we'll all go through our list, and then you have to give one word response of each person's list of what you thought of their list. All right. JP, you go first this week.
Dude, why don't I make one of you guys go first?
All right. You never want to go first, do you?
Okay, I can.
No. Okay. We'll let Eric go.
Eric, you go first.
All right.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm happy to. So I have an honorable mention. We do 3, right?
Yes, my guy right here. I have an honorable mention too.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, you've been talking to Coy before all this, haven't you?
I did not say anything about an honorable mention.
So I have pictures pulled up because I don't know if everybody's gonna know.
Okay.
So my first honorable mention, because I'm a Cowboys fan, is the 1995 the
Okay.
Blues. Oh, you can't really see it,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I can see it.
Oh yeah, you can.
But
Oh yeah.
the shoulders
Troy.
are what's really cool. You know, you got both stars right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's badass. Guy running at you full speed with 2 stars on his shoulder, and then after you're seeing stars. So anyway, those are my honorable mention, and then the rest of them more newer era. I guess not the number one, but so my 3 is the Buccaneers creamsicle that they wore this year. I think that's so cool. The throwback, and here it is. Here's Baker Mayfield wearing it. I don't know if you can see it, but I think that one is awesome as well. And then for number 2, pretty similar thing. We got the Kelly Green Eagles uniform throwback they wore this year.
Yep.
I think this one's just so slick.
Nice.
I think it looks so good. And then I don't know if I'm going through this too fast. You can tell me.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep it going, man.
So my number 1, once again, Cowboys fan. In 1976, they wore this uniform, and it's just a normal jersey, but it was to celebrate the 200th anniversary of our independence, I think, and they wore red along with their white and blue stripe on their helmet, and I think it's just they call it the Captain America singlet, and I come on, what beats that? I think
you can't, especially when you're a true fan.
Yes, exactly. So that's my tier talk for top 3 NFL uniforms.
Wow. I'll tell you what, I got to start with his creamsicle. I love that pick.
Yeah.
They're
slick.
Yeah.
I'm going to say sweet. I'm saying sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was epic. That was
Hey, thank you.
Good. That was a great list.
I like it. Man's got it. You know, even though
I did my homework.
Yeah, you did. That was awesome. That was really good.
Coy?
All right, your turn.
I'm up.
Somebody go.
All right. So I also have an honorable mention. So
I knew it.
I have my honorable mention is I don't have pictures like Eric. I guess I can pull them up, but I don't. But my honorable mention is the Bears orange jersey, white pants with orange stripes and the orange helmet.
Yeah.
That's my honorable mention. That is one of my favorite Bears.
Mm-hmm.
It is my favorite Bears combination. So I put that honorable mention. Number 3, and this is pretty basic, but I love this look, is the Raiders silver pants and black jersey with the silver numbers, silver helmet. I just think that looks sharp. I don't like the Raiders, but those uniforms are sweet.
Yeah.
My number 2 is the Chargers when they go yellow pants with like outer blue jersey, and then the like lightning bolts on the side and the white helmet with the yellow lightning bolts are sweet. So we did our helmets now are lightning bolts on the side like the Chargers.
Yeah.
Because we're Storm, you know. So that's sweet. And then my number 1 is the Buccaneers creamsicle.
Yay!
Oh, baby.
Love the creamsicle uniform.
It's so nice.
It's so sharp. And then the old school Buccaneer and the helmet, man, that I love it when they wear those. Those are probably my favorite uniforms in the NFL, honestly. So
yeah,
that's my 3.
Kinkaid, what you got, man?
As well, I think the word that I would use to describe your list is smooth. All the uniforms that you picked, they were smooth. You know, you look sleek in them. You know, you feel like you're gonna walk out in the field and you're gonna just win some games.
I like it smooth.
Oh, smooth. I like that too.
I'm gonna say likable.
Okay.
Because I don't like to pump his head up anymore.
That's fine. It's good to be
like. Here's the weird thing,
okay.
Me and him actually think a lot alike when we come to this stuff.
Yeah.
Because we actually have 2 out of the 3 are the same.
Are you serious? That's crazy. We didn't talk about this before. We should have.
No, we didn't.
Right.
I don't have an honorable mention. But number 3, I got to stay with this. Remember the Supersonics for basketball back in the day?
I do.
Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, the green and yellow. I like the Packers.
Okay.
I've always liked the Packers. Look, that green and yellow whether they're home or away, you can't. I think of Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, and I think I'm a big fan.
Mhm.
Number 2 would be the Chargers, and I like the baby blue jerseys that they come out with.
Yep.
And now I'm not so much like where you guys are at, the helmet and pants, the baby blue for the Chargers. And then number 1, it is the Raiders. You just cannot go wrong with the Raiders, the black and silver, whether they have the white jersey for away or black home. I think of Bo Jackson when he wore, and it's like, yeah, it's tough I'm not very good with this one. If we did ugly jerseys, I could have given you
the Steelers prison uniform
Oh,
jerseys.
God. Good God. I would have said, hey, man, put AB and Big Ben in there together, man, because
gross.
But I got Raiders number 1. Maybe I'm off, but I do like the creamsicle. But for some reason, I thought somebody would come up with that. I'm like, just stay away from it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. All right. What's your word, Eric?
yeah.
I would say my word is solid.
I appreciate it. That's a nice way of being nice.
You're 1 and 2. I can agree with. They're solid picks. They're pretty good. But the Packers, I just can't agree with at all. So that's what made it not the craziest word.
Who should have I put then for that number 3?
Anyone but the Packers or the Steelers.
My word would be gross.
Oh.
Gross.
See, I give him a
you even had 2 of the 3 uniforms that I had, and that list was gross because of your number 3.
Yeah.
Well,
just terrible.
You know
Sorry,
what, dude?
Santa. Can't do it. Can't do the Packers. I'm bad.
After this, from both, I'm retiring, and you guys will never hear from me again.
Really?
No, I need you. I need you on this. We need you.
Nope, you got it, man. Kinkaid's taking over.
I
keep Kinkaid and his college roommates. We're gonna make another podcast with them.
We can get all 3 of them in here.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, it would.
It'd probably be some good stories.
Yeah, I'd make sure we kept it PG.
Yeah, you didn't want your wrestling coach coming at you.
Yeah, I don't need. We can.
All good.
Boss
real quick comment here.
Yeah, we got quite a few.
Tony said Kinkaid is the man. Cowboys home uniforms best, hands down, America's team. Zach Irwin, can you see these comments, Eric?
I'm looking for them. I can't see all of them.
All right, Zach Irwin says, "Poor Eric, state champ, but could never beat a basketball player in a basement wrestling match."
Oh.
I would like to see that match. I got my money on Eric, I think.
The only time that Zach won a wrestling match against a wrestler was when he pinned Kate Everson in the center field during baseball practice one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's impressive. Cade was a good wrestler, too.
If you ever get Kate on the podcast, ask him about that. He'll talk for 20 minutes about that one.
All right, I bet. I can see that. Then Megan Hall said, "I'm sorry I missed that. You like the Who?" I'm guessing she's a Packers fan.
Oh, yeah. She's a Packer fan.
Yeah. And then Tony again, Steelers are the worst uniforms, can't even afford logos on both sides of their helmet.
He said, I mean, he's got it on me because, they win the Super Bowls against Pitt, but I don't know, whatever. Me and him go back and forth. I don't even try to argue with him because it is what it is.
I like it. He had some good comments this week. I like it.
He does. I'll tell you what, I did. Remember we talked about him, Kinkaid, you'd like this. So Tony's probably still on here. Tony met Jerry Jones in the bathroom in the early 90s when he first purchased the Cowboys.
Really?
So if he's listening, which I think he probably still is, I'm pretty sure he had a jacket on, he told me, and he was in the bathroom at a game, I think in Dallas. So Tony, if you're watching, and he comes in there and he's like, "Hey, where'd you get that jacket?" And Tony's like, he said true story.
True story.
And it was Jerry Jones commenting on his jacket he had on that Tony still has, and he showed me. And I guess he was, going to the bathroom, and Jerry Jones came in and was like, "Hey, that's a cool jacket." And he's like, "Yeah, it is." It's like, "Oh, where'd you get it?" He's like, "Oh, I bought it, whatever." And sure enough, he met Jerry Jones in the bathroom, like in the, he said Metro Dome in Minneapolis.
Wow. That's really cool.
Is that a starter jacket?
I know it wasn't. No, this is like an old
No, I'm
school
saying you remember
jacket.
the starter jacket.
It's a pretty cool story. He told me one night, and I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, Jerry Jones." Right? It was like right when he bought I think the Cowboys or something.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
That's cool. Very cool. All right. Eric, you got anything you want to add before we sign off here? Or?
I don't think so. I think we
All right.
covered about everything.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks for coming on, Eric, and spending some of your school night with us. I know you probably got to get hit the books here, and get studying for classes tomorrow. But
Some physics.
you got physics homework?
Yep.
Oh man, sorry for keeping you up. But
all good.
we're gonna sign off. I want to thank everyone for jumping on and listening and commenting. Make sure to tell your friends to like us, follow us on Facebook. Also got a Twitter/X account as well that we post these on also. So thanks. Stendo, you good? You got anything you want to add?
Kinkaid, you were a great guest. Appreciate you coming on, dude. Hopefully you come back someday and jump on with us.
I appreciate the invite. It was fun. I'd love to be back sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to hear
Sounds
about
good.
you sticking somebody in like 13 seconds and winning the national championship.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's right, baby. Let's go.
All right. See ya.
Take care.